Можна довго сперечатися, яка система освіти більш ефективна – західна чи східна. Щоб розібратися в цьому питанні, ми запросили наших друзів, партнерів з Сінгапуру і Великобританії. Які переваги освіти в цих країнах? Як оцінюють прогрес учнів? Чи необхідні домашні завдання? Та як необхідно оцінювати прогрес учня?
Well, I think there are a lot of changes that are going to come our way, and that's perhaps not surprisingly reflected in what we see in other areas. Technology is making an enormous difference to the way the rest of our lives work, and perhaps it's not surprising that before too long I think technology is going to make quite a difference to schools. We're already seeing some link-ups and partnerships that are happening internationally because we can talk to each other in real time. And these are the sort of things that we discuss at Padworth and Bishopstrow as well.
I think I would add to that, we're seeing a lot of innovation in technology. For example, Harrow School recently announced its plans to launch an entirely virtual sixth form whereby students from outside the UK can study the Harrow curriculum through the sixth form through years 12 and 13. So I think a lot of the change will be driven by technology first and foremost.
I guess today any person is looking for a job outside their own country. So a key aspect of the school education system is to have the child that is confident, that can apply the skills that he learned in school outside the classroom, beyond the, we call it in Singapore, we call it real world problems. How do you solve something where you don't have the tools and the necessary tools that you need to solve it? So our education system educates us so that they can compete with the other people outside globally. So what I'm trying to say is that our teachers benchmark themselves against the global trends. They upgrade themselves every year with 60 hours of teachers training. From a student's perspective, they are teaching our children to know beyond content, to have very strong soft skills, skills such as confidence, skills such as cultural sensitivity. So these are some of the things that's necessary.
Well, I love the ambition for the school and this willingness to absorb and seek out what are the best practices around the world is absolutely admirable. So it's difficult for me to say what advice to give, but certainly very good wishes, because I think you're doing all the right things, and I look forward to a long relationship and keep coming back to see how things are developing.
I would just add that we're delighted to be here as guests. One of the reasons we're here is to talk about opportunities to collaborate between our schools in the UK and Ukrainian Global School. I think we do feel it would be beneficial for some of the students here to get an international experience studying in the UK as part of their education at Ukrainian Global School. And if we can put something together to that effect, I think that would be a beneficial addition to the programme and the curriculum here.
I think it's a very admirable thing for the school to actually embark on a new methodology. Change is something that nobody in the world wants to do. And I'm glad that Alina, the owner, has researched and has been impressed by the Singapore curriculum, specifically in math. And as I said, change is always evolving, and the fact that this school is wanting to learn from the best practices globally and has chosen Marshall Cavendish Singapore Math as one step, I think that is a very good step. Like in everything in life, when we do something new, there's always going to be the first year adjustment. Nobody can master things very fast. So Marshall Cavendish hopes to engage the school more, to give them the support, to give them the new teaching techniques to help the school. And I think that's the first step that the school is doing. I understand the school is collaborating with many other institutions to be a global footprint in the Ukraine education system.
I think that the UK education system benefits from a very long history. Our oldest school is 1400 years old, our oldest university is 1000 years old, and I think that lends a background to UK education that we still benefit from today. Do you think that's fair, Mark?
I think so. I think I would also add to that that a British education is very much a holistic education. There's a tremendous focus obviously on academic excellence, academic results, academic standards, but students attending schools, in particular in the UK, are very much educated across a wide range of skills, soft skills as well as academic skills, extracurricular activities, sports, which results in a very broad education.
And I think what that does is it allows people to go on to make a difference across the world. When you look at the people who've been educated in the UK, you find that they are then spread out across the world, making a great difference as world leaders, as economic thinkers, as scientists. And I think that's where its reputation stems from.
I guess the Singapore education is unique because not only does it allow a child to do well academically, but it also builds the confidence that's needed in your daily life and your future. So things like soft skills such as the ability to speak well, the ability to think out of the box, and the ability to compete with people internationally. I guess because we focus on conceptual understanding, we have a good teachers training support for all our public schools in Singapore, and the teachers guide the students so that they master the concepts. That's why we consistently do well in our math and science subjects for many, many years now.
Well, I think they develop a combination of independence and their own learning skills. It's not just about generating a large volume of knowledge. It's knowing that you can do things with that knowledge, that you can have ideas in a creative way, and that you have the confidence to go on and make a difference, to change things, to come up with new ideas. And I think that makes the people very influential in whatever they go on to do.
I would add to that, I think also there's a strong emphasis on independent learning. At Bishopstrow and Padworth, we enrol a lot of international students, and many of them have come from education systems in their home countries where the emphasis is very much what we call learning by rote. So they're learning to memorize facts ahead of examinations. And I think in the UK, the focus is more than that. It's on developing independent minds and the ability of young people to think independently.
School is always evolving, education is always evolving, we're always changing and learning new things. So in 2009, we introduced this concept of teaching called lesson study. So that's where it's a unique way of teachers training that is taught in classes by the teachers. So as students today, we now learn robotics, coding, and STEM as additional subjects outside the classroom. So teaching and learning is no longer about just textbooks, it's no longer about core curriculum, but it's also about teaching the other soft skills that's relevant for the future for our kids.
I've taught a number of lessons to Ukrainian students, and I've been teaching them physics. And what they have been surprised by and what they seem very much to have enjoyed is that for me, physics is a completely practical science. And they tell me that it's quite rare in Ukrainian schools to be doing science on a practical level. They might see some things demonstrated, but they very rarely get the chance to do them themselves. And I grew up in a culture where science was an entirely practical thing to do, to learn. And that's what made it interesting, enjoyable for me as a student years ago. And it's what always made it exciting to teach. And I think if a subject feels exciting to teach, it feels exciting to learn, and they very much seem to enjoy it. So if there's one thing that my experience suggests, it's please do lots of practical experiments for science in Ukraine.
I would add to that just a broad and extensive extracurricular program. So the classroom-based learning is important, but we spend almost as much time at Bishopstrow and Padworth outside the classroom, whether that's sports, clubs, activities, other extracurricular events. So I think that's an important part of providing a rounded, broad education.
I think fundamentally when parents send their children to a school, they expect good grades. They expect good grades in all subjects. So that's one part that the Singapore math not necessarily focuses on. We focus on conceptual foundation. We focus on life skills. that is something that is very applicable in the real world life. In other words, when you go for an interview, they're not going to look at your grades. They're going to ask you, are you a confident person? Are you able to think out of the box? Are you able to answer a question that is not based on theory? These are the soft skills that will get you the job. Not always, not necessarily just academic grades.
Дякую нашим експертам за таку змістовну і цікаву відповідь. Якщо у вас залишились питання, завітайте до Ukrainian Global School.